All right, so I've started the project. I've imported my footage. I've found a couple clips that I'm going to put into this as a demonstration for the project. And we're going to do some camera tracking, place some images into the scene, and composite something so it looks like something that really didn't happen. So let's have a little fun with some footage from the stadium. All right, so here we are in the in After Effects. I've got my effects controls panel here. Project layout's a little bit different, and here's my sequence that I'm working with. Let me close some of this other stuff out. Okay, and there's my footage, a couple images that we're going to put into this scene as we go. Now it's important to know that your footage is the same size as your composition, meaning if you're working with 4K footage, it is not scaled down to 1920 by 1080, or if you're working with 1080 footage, it's not scaled up. So if I hit the letter S on my keyboard to show scale, you can easily see it's 100%. If it is scaled or it's changed in some way, you will get an error. Okay. So let's go ahead and start tracking this. So we're going to go up to, if you don't see it on your right side, go up to Window, and come down to Tracker, and click on that. Okay. And on the right hand side, you've got Track Camera, Warp Stabilizer, Track Motion, Stabilize Motion. So one of the things that this does is if you're in Premiere working on a video and you're trying Warp Stabilizer, it's not working, you could bring it into After Effects and try to stabilize it that way. This is a little bit more robust, a little bit more intensive, but it could do the trick, okay? But in this case, we're going to go ahead and track the camera. So I'm going to click Track Camera. Make sure your clip is selected, of course. Track Camera. And you can see it's starting to process. While it's doing that, let's take a look here. So 3D Camera Tracker. Oh, there we go. 3D Camera Tracker. You can see it's processing right now. We're going to do a fixed angle of view. There are some different options you could test out and see how that works for you. But I'm going to do fixed angle of view for now. Okay. 3D Solve. There's some different things we can look at. We can show track points for track points for the 2D source, but we're going to look at the 3D Solve. Since we're going to work in 3D space, I want to see those 3D track points. And then, of course, at this point, I want to render track points. I can turn that off later, but once this is complete, I want to be able to see those track points. And then we'll look at the track point size once we get some results. So I'll see you in about 30 seconds once this is complete. All right, so our 3D tracker has completed analyzing and processing the footage. Let's go take a look and see what's happened. So you can see there's different points throughout here, and if you can't see that, if the points are a little small, we can always increase the size by going to our track point size and increasing that. Now you can see all of those different points. Generally, you want to work with the green points. They're going to be the most stable track points that you have available. Okay. Now, with that, you can also change, like we changed the track point size, we can change the target size. So that's something to keep in mind. And you can see, because I have the effect selected and my clip is selected, right? Clip and my effect. Now I am able to grab a point. I can hold down Shift and grab a series of points. So like I can go this way, and maybe this way, and create, you see how it creates a target or a plane there? So you can create different planes or specify what plane you want to work on. I can do this, and then this, and then maybe something like that, and it creates a plane that way. That's not quite right, but there might be something that we want to work with. Maybe go like that. You can see how it adjusts, and so on. And that. Okay. So these are just different options that you can play around with, or you can just choose a point. Okay. So let's go ahead for now. Let's create some text. Let's create some text. So I'm going to put some text along this dot right here. So I'm just going to choose that dot, and I'm going to right click. And the first time you ever do this, you're going to see create text or create solid or null, and camera. This will only happen the first time you do this. The second time, unless you've deleted the camera, this will only happen the first time. So click on, I'm going to do create text and camera, and you can see it creates some text right off the bat. Now that's nice, but it's not quite how I want it, because it's, well, we'll adjust it in a minute. So there's our text and our camera down there. So let's take a look at our text. And you can come up to, whoop, there we go. Come up to character, and you can change the color of that. Let's make it a nice bright red, something like that. Click OK. Double click it, and we'll say Memorial Stadium. There we go, I can spell. And now, let's take a look at our attributes. So I want to rotate this, so I'm going to hit R for rotation. And because it's 3D, I can rotate it any which way. I'm actually going to rotate this a little bit. Like so. Let's see how that looks. I'm just going to scrub through it and look at that. Let me play it. And you can see it's grabbed that point, it's tracked pretty decently. It looks like it does need to rotate a little bit to the right on the Z axis. So let's come back over here where it's a little bit more straight on. And I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to hold down Control. Maybe 0.5. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so now it looks like it's almost sitting on that bench. Okay, looking good. One thing you do not want to do is adjust its position. The minute you adjust its position, it's going to mess up. So you do not want to touch that position. If you need to move it left or right, use that anchor point adjustment that we've talked about before in the previous lessons. If you adjust the anchor point, you're still reading the information off of that position. Let me grab my selection tool. Okay? So do not adjust the position. It will mess up. Otherwise, if you need to move something, use that anchor point. Okay? All right, so now we've tracked our footage. We've added some text. In the next video, we're going to work on adding some images and learning how to composite some images by using some planes and pre-comps and things like that. I'll see you in the next video.